It's 100% rye, it's 100% malted, and it's from an up-and-coming great distillery. Let's dive into New Riff's 6-year malted rye whiskey. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that's right, today we are taking a look at New Riff's 6-year malted rye whiskey. First, just a brief recap of what New Riff Distillery is and what to expect from these guys. So it was founded in 2014. It is in Newport, Kentucky, which is actually very close to where I live. It's the closest distillery to me. They've got a great tour, and I highly recommend checking them out if you're ever in town. Another big benefit is they are right in the parking lot of the largest liquor store in America, the Party Source, which is always fun to check out if you're on the bourbon hunting trail. They don't often have the most limited stuff because everybody goes there, but they have a huge selection. In fact, I believe it's the former owner of the Party Source, Jay Arisman, I want to say is his name, who sold off his shares in the Party Source and then founded and launched New Riff basically right there in the parking lot. In the time that New Riff has been on shelves since 2014, they have garnered lots of attention. They have great, just standard offerings in bourbon and rye. They also do a lot of single barrels and store picks and things like that. So always something new to be looking out for from them. This 6-year malted rye, though, is one of their oldest products. Let's just take a look at this bottle itself and what we've got going on. So again, it is 6 years old. It is 100% rye and 100% malted rye. On the back here, it says, our 100% malted rye whiskey is bottled in bond without chill filtration, exceeding the world's highest quality standards for spirits set forth in the 1897 Bottled in Bond Act, aged at least 6 years, 100% malted rye. So I believe that everything New Riff does is technically bottled in bond, which is a cool achievement for a distillery that's so young, and it shows that they're willing to wait to make sure their products are pretty high quality. This one is totally unique, somewhat interesting. I believe price point on this, if you do see it, is around $60. It is a more limited product, though certainly not impossible to find. After they had a pretty successful initial run with it, I believe they made it more widespread, which is great. That's a lot of talk and a lot of preamble. Let's just dive into the whiskey now and see what we've got on our hands here. So on the nose, New Riff 6-year malted rye. Oh yeah, so sweet. There is a heck of a lot of orange peel and orange zest. That's what I get right off the bat. You know those little orange sugar candies that have like the extra sugar crusting on the outside? That's what jumps out to me the most. A little bit of like a caramel and maybe even a little coffee or espresso note underneath that, with some rye grain and spice poking through. A lot of vanilla as well. Man, that is interesting. It is interesting how the darker notes of the rye, the spice, again, I'm getting a little bit of like a darker caramel, how that plays with that really nice, bright, zesty, orange, sugary quality. A little bit of a bready note, so just kind of like rye toast. And then something a little bit herbal as well, maybe black tea. There's also like a potential powdered sugar spearmint freshness going on. So like super sweet sugar, but mixed with that little bit of sharpness that you get from a spearmint kind of quality. Really interesting nose. I will say I have to dig for a lot of those notes, but the most prominent one is that nice candied orange. So that jumps out. Let's go in on the palate, see how much of that transfers over. Cheers. Yeah. So right off the bat, I would describe that like rye toast, maybe even like slightly burnt toast. So just a little bit of char in there with like an orange marmalade, very sugary jelly kind of spread over top of it. and then just a little sprig of mint kind of thing going on. It is very similar to what I was getting on the nose. I do think mouthfeel here, even though it is non-chill filtered, it's a little bit on the thinner side, so not super robust, but it's got nice, sugary, super sweet flavors, and then there is a little bit of spice that kicks up on the back end. All right, great start. Let's dive into the second sip, see if we can pick apart some more flavors. Cheers. Yeah, it's good. That sip in particular, the front palate and a little bit of the mid palate too had more of a caramel burst to them. And then like a little bit of a char note mixed in there as well. Then that orange sugary quality really kicked up in the mid palate, and that started to mingle with that mint and spice on the back end in particular. So kind of an interesting, different channels of flavors are kind of rising with different sips. So a lot of it's staying consistent, but on some sips you're gonna probably get a little bit more of the like spice and mint. Some sips you'll get a little bit more of that caramel and char. Some sips will just be that candied orange. Let's dive in now though for the third sip. I'll really hone in on that finish for you guys. Just before we do that, I do want to say that if you're enjoying all the content coming out of the channel, would love to have you aboard for the full journey of 2023. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing that. While you're at it, hit that like button, helps get the video out, and comment down below. Have you had New Riff 6-year malted rye? What did you think? Is it worth the pickup at around 60 bucks? All right, third sip here. Cheers. Nice. That sip actually added a little bit of complexity. I got a lot more of the fruits coming forward, so the orange is there. Got more of a cherry here, maybe even a little bit of like an apricot thing going on. There was more spice here, more rye spice and a little bit of cinnamon as well. And then some honey as well mixed in there with some vanilla. So this one, that sip went a little bit lighter and brighter. And as I'm tracking the finish, it gets a little bit more like that rye toast going on. There is a quality, a sharp, spicy quality to it that lingers for a while. Almost feels like you've had like some mint gum or something, that kind of fresh spiciness going on. And then there is a little bit of that honey and orange sticking around as well. So I think the finish is pretty solid. It's not the most long-lasting finish ever. I think some of the flavors die off. Might be mostly because of the sort of medium mouthfeel here, not super robust. But at 100 proof and 100% rye, it's certainly got a good kick to it and a finish that has a good amount of spice that lingers. All right, so overall thoughts on New Riff 6-year malted rye. A really nice rye product, especially for around 60 bucks, a little bit more limited, something special to add to your shelves. I would 100% recommend this if you're able to see one. I think that this is one of the sweeter presentations of rye that you're gonna be able to get. I have shared this with others who aren't particularly into rye and maybe not even into whiskey that much, and they have loved it. My dad in particular is getting into bourbon and whiskey more, and he loves this bottle. So I think it's a great sweet rye to start out with in your journey to explore more rye whiskey. And again, 60 bucks, I think this fits right there in that category. If you see it for more like 70 and you haven't ever seen it before, I think it's worth it. Though I want to know what you guys think. So again, let me know in the comments below. What do you think of this bottle of 6-year malted rye whiskey? And what do you think of New Riff Distilling overall? Let's start a conversation about this Northern Kentucky distillery. I think that's everything today, guys. Thanks for watching. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.